Hey y'all, welcome back to Doozy Talks with Susie, where we keep it real about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and living in sync with your body and your purpose. So today, I am sharing something really personal about how I lost 80 pounds, fixed my hormones, and finally started feeling like myself again. Not by starving myself, and not by running every day, not even by eating more plants, but by understanding what my DNA had been trying to tell me all along my whole life. And trust me, eating clean, working out hard, and taking probiotics didn't save me. In fact, it almost made things worse. If you've ever felt like your body is fighting you or nothing seems to work the way it should, this story is for you. So let's go back. I started my journey at 215 pounds about 8 years ago. But this wasn't just about the number. I was dealing with hormone imbalances. I felt bloated all the time. I was tired no matter how much I slept. I was depressed, foggy, and emotionally, I was all over the place, out of breath just walking upstairs, and my blood pressure was high. I didn't want to have to go on medication, and I knew something was off. I knew that this was a problem I could fix if I did what I needed to do. I just didn't know what I needed to do. And I feel like this is a lot of people. A lot of people are like, I know I need to do something. I know I can fix this, but how? I'll be honest, I tried everything. I tried the keto diet, and that helped. It worked for a while, but it was difficult at the beginning to maintain. And I went from that to I give up. I also tried the whole grain, almost like a Mediterranean type of diet, where you're eating healthy grains with your bit of protein and all of your vegetables. And that one, I really didn't see much difference, but I was eating more healthy because I was making most of my food at that time. And then I switched back to keto again because that one kind of worked. I attempted intermittent fasting, that was challenging. And then I tried vegan for a while. It worked. And then I tried vegetarian. It also worked. But those two are very difficult to maintain because I knew I needed a certain amount of protein. And it was difficult for me to reach my protein needs without getting too many carbohydrates into my daily intake. And if you're someone who counts macros, you know what I'm talking about here. So every time one of those kinds of diets would work, and then they'd stop. Then I'd hit a wall or I'd start gaining again. And when I would gain the weight, I was gaining extra pounds back. And I was like, what is going on here? So I was yo dieting and I was getting to the point where I was running 30 plus miles a week. On top of strength training, I would cut my calories way below what they should have been for someone as active as what I was, just to lose a few pounds. And then as soon as I lose them, the weight would bounce right back because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to help myself. And honestly, I lived on caffeine. Multiple coffees a day, energy drinks, whatever I had to do just to stay awake and power through my workouts. I was just constantly stressed out all the time. And my mind would never rested. I had anxiety almost every day, racing thoughts, emotional crashes, and this pressure to just push through when my body was begging for rest. Because I was like, man, I have to do this workout because I'm aiming to reach this weight loss goal in this amount of time, and I have to do my workout. And I was pushing my body really hard. And it was becoming too much. At one point, I actually ended up with almost getting shin splints. I recognized it before it hit bad, but I did have to rest for a couple weeks to let my legs rest from all the stress I was putting on it. And the thing was that I didn't realize that the stress and anxiety were tied to my genes, my gut, and even the foods I was eating. Like deep down, I knew like this wasn't sustainable. So even when I was eating healthy, my body was fighting back, especially when I was eating plant-based foods like broccoli, beans, cauliflower, onions, garlic. I was bloated, uncomfortable, and still gaining weight. And I'm telling you, this has been going on for years. I was trying to eat all the healthy foods, eat all the right stuff. I didn't really feel good. So then I would give up and go back to eating the junk food because If I was going to feel miserable eating healthy food, then I may as well feel miserable eating the unhealthy food because at least it tasted better, right? So I was doing everything right. I was also taking digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar, probiotics, and it would sort of help with the digestion and then it would stop. And I'm like, I don't know. And at one point I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just not committed as much as I should be. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just try completely vegan, whole food, organic. Let's do this. And I gained 5 pounds in 1 week. And I was not eating much, but I put on 5 pounds in 1 week. And at this time, I was still eating below my caloric needs. And I'm like, dude, something is not adding up here. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And here's the hardest thing is I'm a certified nutrition and fitness coach. I know all the healthy stuff. I've read books. I've done the trainings. I've read more books. I'm like, what am I missing here? I'm eating my vegetables. I'm eating my whole grains and my beans and my legumes. And I'm making sure this stuff is healthy. I'm avoiding all the bad ingredients. And it didn't make a difference. So it wasn't working. And honestly, that made me feel even more frustrated. I was trying so hard to make the vegan or the plant-based diet work, and I've read the studies, and I believe in its healing potential. I've seen it happen. I have a friend. She was healed from cancer by going vegan. She's been in remission for going on 15 years or more. I have another friend who thrives on the plant-based diet, doesn't really tolerate animal products very well. So I'm like, but I'm fine. I can eat this stuff and I'm fine. For me, I felt like I was just getting worse. I was hungry. I was gaining weight. I felt inflamed and bloated and moody. And workouts were becoming non existent. It was so hard to go work out. And I was like, I was doing everything that all the experts told me to do, and it wasn't working. And it made me stop and wonder, like, what if this really just is how I'm going to have to feel forever? Maybe this is just normal and this is how it has to be. But deep down, I knew there was something else. And maybe that's you. If that's you, let me know in the comments. You're feeling miserable, but deep down, you're like, dude, I know I could feel better. I know there's something I could do. I'm missing something. And I feel like I've tried everything. Let me know in the comments. Because here's the thing. Our bodies are designed to heal. They are intelligent. They want to self-correct. They want you to be thriving in life. So if mine just wasn't healing, then something was missing. And that's when I started diving into genetics. Now, if you haven't yet, I strongly recommend people get their genes tested because it's going to tell you everything about what foods you could eat for proper healing, proper function, what your body thrives on, exercises that your body thrives on, and what nutrients your body may be missing. So I strongly recommend that you do this. And when I started, I found the most amazing information. With everything going wrong, I finally got my methylation and detox genes tested, and suddenly, everything started making sense. Here's what I found. MTHFR is a gene, and this gene helps your body activate folate and B12. And these nutrients are critical for hormone balance, detox, and energy. But with this mutation, my body couldn't use the normal forms of these B vitamins or even the synthetic forms of these vitamins. And so I was running on empty. It was difficult for my body to take folate or the regular B12 and turn it into the methylated versions of it, which is what then my body can use for energy and hormone balance and detoxing. So I needed the methylated form. Then there's this other gene called COMT, and this gene breaks down the dopamine and the stress hormones, and it also helps break down estrogen. And my version slows that down a little bit, which means I can get overstimulated, anxious, have a hard time winding down for bedtime, especially after caffeine or stress. So I'm like, well, there's those two. It kind of explains a little bit of what I'm dealing with. And then there's a CBS gene mutation, and this gene helps your body with processing sulfur. And this one made a lot of sense with my food problems. So sulfur is in healthy foods, and it's in healthy foods like garlic, broccoli, eggs, onions, Brussels sprout, a lot of different ones that are foods that are very healthy foods that you should be eating. But my gene mutation made it harder to process these things. And so those foods caused bloating, brain fog, and even body odor. And think of it, the way I explain it to people is you think of it as a traffic jam in the detox system. So you got all of this toxic buildup going on, and I need to get it cleared out. And my body is trying to clear it out, but it's not able to because there's too much going on in there. I also had these two detox genes called SOD1 and SOD2, and they're part of the antioxidant cleanup crew. And they reduce the oxidative stress damage caused by the stress, pollution, or even overtraining. So I was kind of dealing with both of those. I live in the valley, and because of that, we have a lot of pollution happening because we're surrounded by mountains. And so we constantly get that there's pollution is bad today. We constantly get those on our weather apps. So my versions, they just don't work efficiently. And I was inflamed from things other people, they can handle just fine. So I was dealing with that. There were two other detox genes. One is PON1 and GSTP1. These impact the liver detox. And my body holds on to chemicals, toxins, and even hormones longer than it should. And so I needed to support this with my diet and with some supplements. And the last one I'm going to point out, I have more, but these ones that I'm mentioning are very important. This last one is NOS3. And this gene affects blood flow, oxygen delivery, and my version, it reduces the nitric oxide production. So long cardio sessions weren't energizing me, they were actually exhausting me, which was part of my goal before I understood what was going on with my body. I would literally run for a long time every day so that I could sleep at night because of my COMT gene mutation that wouldn't made it difficult for me to sleep. So I would run, which would then exhaust me, and then I would sleep at night. So the crazy thing though is I used to roll my eyes at this stuff. I thought I was taught that genetics were just science stuff, but it explained everything that doctors and diet books couldn't. I was told that the genetics play such a small role, and in a way I guess they do, but at the same time they are very important when you're looking to lose weight and you're trying to eat a healthy diet but it's not working. If you go back and you look at your genetics, then you can start seeing, oh, it might be because my body cannot eat and process this food efficiently. And that's what I ended up discovering. So I thought in the past, well, this is whatever. I would just let it go. Oh, it's just a new thing people are talking about. No, this is actually real. I've done my own research and training on this. So if this is actually connecting with you, drop a comment below with the word DNA. And I want to see how many of us have been doing all the right things and missing this root issue. And don't worry, more solutions are coming next. But in a comment, drop DNA. And I want to see how many of us we're trying, but things are not working well. And so now, let me tell you, with this new insight, I completely transformed how I approached my health. This is what I did. First, I changed my diet. I moved to a mostly animal-based diet that works for my gut and my genes. I cut out a lot of the plant-based foods that are causing bloating or pain. And I started including high-quality meats. I use A2 dairy instead of dairy-free milk. I'll use coconut oil for the MCTs, which are medium chain triglycerides. They offer a lot of nutrition, which I will make in another video to explain MCTs. They are very valuable. I use them because of that. I use ghee. I use collagen. And like I said before, I cut out most of the grains, most of the legumes, most of the high sulfur foods. For the most part, those things are completely gone. And every time I try to reintroduce them for more than one meal out of the week, I start having the pain coming back. I also changed my workouts. I stopped running every day. I stopped running several miles every day. I now run 2 to 3 times a week in shorter bursts. I'll do about half an hour. And then I walk the other days. I still try to get all of my steps in. That is my goal for heart health. But I'm not stressing myself out trying to run every single day of the week. I focus more on strength training because that supports my hormones without overwhelming my body. And then I adjusted my caffeine and my lifestyle habits, and I switched to drinking mainly just decaf coffee. Sometimes I'll throw in a caffeinated coffee, but then I usually end up paying for it later because then I start feeling kind of crazy because I have the caffeine, I feel crazy. So I switched to decaf coffee, and I use A2 milk in it with the coconut oil and the collagen peptides. And then I stopped pushing through the fatigue and I started listening to my body. So if I'm over here, it's been a long day, I've been busy all day, I've been working, and then my body is too exhausted for a workout, then I might do something a little more light. Maybe I'll do just body weight exercises instead of lifting heavy weights. Maybe I'll go for a walk instead of run that day if running was on my schedule for the day. I listen to my body instead of pushing it to do more than what it feels comfortable with doing that day. I also added supplements that support my gene function. So for energy and detox, I started taking the methylated multivitamin with 5-MTHF and methylcobalamin because my body, it can't use the synthetic forms. So taking the synthetic forms is futile. There's no point to it. It doesn't help me. I also started taking TMG, which is trimethylglycine, and that it helps lower my homocysteines, which cause the stress and anxiety if you have too much of it. It's a toxic byproduct and it just builds up in people who have methylation issues. For my brain and my muscles, I started taking creatine because that helps support muscle, but there's been more research coming out lately about its potential for brain function and mood, and it's especially good for someone who has MTHFR and COMT gene mutations. So I'll take, normally people would take 5, but there's been evidence showing that taking more than 5 grams of creatine can be very beneficial for you. And then for stress and sleep, I take magnesium because that helps calm my nervous system. It improves the sleep. Glycine and taurine, those support detox, gut healing, and calming brain chemistry. So then you're able to just naturally relax without having I've never had any issues with it. I sleep so good. And for gut health, I do targeted probiotics. And the thing with the probiotics, and I've said this in another video, if you're taking probiotics, you want to make sure you're taking probiotics that are specifically for your body. Not everybody needs the same probiotics. I take probiotics specifically to restore my gut balance and to help reduce symptoms of SIBO and SIFO, which SIBO and SIFO are something that I'll talk about in another video because I think it's important. I don't think it's talked about enough, but it's just something that happens in the gut. And I'm genetically prone to being able to have SIBO and SIFO. You don't want it. It's the bacteria overgrowth. But I'll talk about that in a different video. Every supplement that I take, it has a purpose. I wasn't guessing. I was rebuilding what my genes just weren't doing efficiently. And I eliminated what made them worse. NAC, which is the supplement that you can take, it wasn't helping me, along with certain like herbs that triggered reactions. So let me tell you what changed though. I lost more fat. I built more lean muscle without starving. My bloating went down, which was the most amazing thing. I was just constantly bloated and felt uncomfortable. Have consistent energy, better mood, clearer thinking, and far less anxiety. My nervous system calmed down. I wasn't constantly reacting or on edge. my hormones regulated naturally for the first time, and my skin, digestion, and sleep all improved. And I stopped needing caffeine to function. No joke. I went on a hike this morning without any caffeine. And that's the first time like my life that I've gone on a hike without caffeine. So I want you to hear this. If your body isn't responding the way it should, it doesn't mean you're lazy or like broken. It just means your body is doing the best it can with what it has. And when you finally give it the right support, it'll come back to life. It'll be feeling amazing again. And people ask me, like, how did you lose the weight and keep it off? And what do you mean when you say that you eat for your DNA? This is what I mean. My body is always talking to me. Your body is always talking to you through symptoms, cravings, and even failures. But if you don't understand your own blueprint, it's easy to get stuck in a loop that isn't made for you. And most plans just assume that everyone can thrive off the same foods. You read that book, you listen to this expert and that expert, they act like everybody's body is the same, and we're not all the same. We are all built differently, and your genes affect how you detox, how you process nutrients, and how you handle stress, and even how you respond to certain foods. Once you understand that, your whole approach changes. So, if you've been doing everything right and you still feel like something is off, maybe it's time to go a little deeper. Maybe your breakthrough is in your DNA. If you're ready to stop guessing and start healing like real, this channel is for you. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join me each week as we decode the truth about your body, your genes, and your power to transform. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.